Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive ship on his screen. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The alien vessel looked like a giant metal snake covered in sharp spikes. Dark red lights pulsed along its sides like angry eyes. "How big is that thing?" Jake asked his crew. "About 5 miles long, Captain," said Lieutenant Danny Rodriguez from his station. His voice was quiet with fear. "And there are more ships behind it." "Lots more." Dr. Lisa Carter moved closer to the main screen. She was the ship's scientist and diplomat. Her job was to talk to new alien races they might find. She had dreamed of this moment her whole life. But now she felt scared. "This is it," she whispered. "First contact with aliens." The UES Frontier was humanity's newest exploration ship. It was fast and had good weapons, but it was tiny compared to the alien fleet ahead of them. Jake and his crew had been exploring space for 3 months. They had found empty planets and strange space rocks. But no aliens. Until now. Commander Amy Walsh, Jake's second-in-command, checked her instruments. "Captain, they're scanning us. Some kind of energy beam." "Are they trying to talk?" Jake asked. "I don't think so," Amy said. "It feels more like they're studying us. Like we're bugs under a microscope." Suddenly, the ship's communication system crackled to life. A deep, harsh voice filled the bridge. The words were in perfect English, but the accent was strange and frightening. "Small mammal vessel. You will surrender immediately. Your species will serve the Vortak Empire. Resistance is pointless." The crew looked at each other with wide eyes. Lisa stepped forward. "Captain, let me try to talk to them." Jake nodded. Lisa activated the communication system. "This is Dr. Lisa Carter of the United Earthship Frontier. We come in peace. We wish to establish friendly relations with your people." A sound came through the speakers. It took a moment for the crew to realize the aliens were laughing. The sound was cold and cruel, like metal scraping against stone. "Friendly relations," the alien voice said. "You misunderstand your situation, mammals. The Vortak are the alpha species of this galaxy. All others exist only to serve us or die. Your choice is simple, slavery or death." Danny's face went pale. "Captain, their weapons are charging. Multiple targets locked on us." Jake felt his heart pounding. "How many ships are out there, Danny?" "I count over 200, sir. All of them bigger than us. All of them armed." The alien voice spoke again. "Your species amuses us. So small and weak, yet you dare to speak of peace. We have conquered 400 worlds. We have enslaved 50 different species. Some fought bravely. Some begged for mercy. All fell before the might of the Vortak." Lisa tried again. "We don't want to fight. Surely there's room in the galaxy for all of us to live peacefully." This time the alien laughter was louder. "Peace? There is no peace except under Vortak rule. We are the ultimate predators. Evolution made us perfect. Strong scales, sharp claws, powerful minds. We were born to rule. You mammals with your soft skin and weak bodies were born to serve." On the screen, the lead alien ship moved closer. The crew could see its hull in detail now. It was covered in what looked like armor plating made from the bones of giant creatures. Dark weapons pointed at them from every angle. "Tell us about your homeworld," the alien demanded. "How many of your kind live there? What defenses do you have? Answer truthfully and we might let some of your species live as pets." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "We're not telling you anything about Earth." "Earth?" The alien voice seemed pleased. "So that is your world's name. How convenient. We will arrive there in 6 of your months. We will take what we want. Your people will kneel before us or they will burn." Amy whispered urgently to Jake. "Captain, we need to get out of here. We have to warn Earth." Jake nodded. But before he could give orders, the alien spoke again. "We will demonstrate why resistance is futile. Observe." On the screen, the alien ships turned toward a nearby planet. It was a beautiful world with blue oceans and green continents. The crew had scanned it earlier. It had no intelligent life, but it was covered with plants and animals. "No," Lisa whispered. "They wouldn't. But they would." Bright beams of energy shot from the alien ships toward the planet. Where the beams touched the surface, everything burst into flames. Oceans boiled away. Continents cracked and melted. In minutes, the beautiful world became a ball of burning rock and ash. "This is what happens to worlds that resist us," the alien said. "Your Earth will suffer the same fate if your species dares to fight." Jake's hands shook with rage and fear. He had never seen such casual destruction. The aliens had killed an entire world just to make a point. "Danny, prepare for emergency jump," Jake ordered quietly. "Get us out of here." "Ready, Captain," Danny whispered back. "We're leaving now," Jake announced to the aliens. "You've made your point." "Oh, but mammals," the alien voice was mocking now. "Did we say you could leave? Perhaps we should take your ship back to our worlds. Study you. Learn about human anatomy. It could be educational." Jake saw several alien ships moving to surround them. "Jump now," he shouted. The UES Frontier disappeared in a flash of light just as alien weapons fired at where they had been. Space was quiet again. But on board the human ship, no one felt safe. They were racing back to Earth as fast as their engines could carry them. Behind them, 200 alien warships were preparing for invasion. "How long do we have?" Amy asked. 6 months, Jake said grimly. "Maybe less." Lisa stared at the screen showing the destroyed planet they were leaving behind. "They called themselves the Alpha species. Said they were perfect predators." "Maybe they are," Danny said quietly. "Maybe we can't fight them." Jake looked at his crew. They were scared, and they had every reason to be. But they were also angry. And Jake knew that angry humans could be very dangerous. "Maybe they're right about being perfect predators," Jake said. "But they've never met humans before. They might be in for a surprise." The UES Frontier raced through space toward Earth, carrying the most important message in human history. The wolves were coming, and they thought humans were sheep. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. General Ryan Brooks stood in the emergency meeting room deep under the Pentagon. Around the table sat the most important people on Earth. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists. All of them looked worried. 6 months, General Brooks said. "That's how long we have before they arrive." Captain Jake Morrison had returned to Earth 3 days ago. He had told everyone about the Vortak and their massive fleet. The recording of their conversation played over and over on news channels around the world. "How many ships did you see?" asked President Helen Ross. "Over 200, Jake replied. "Each one bigger than our largest battleship. And that was just one fleet. They said they've conquered 400 worlds." Dr. Kevin Park, a military historian, studied the alien footage. Every species they've conquered surrendered quickly. Most lasted less than a week against them. "What about their technology?" asked Admiral Jack Stone, commander of Earth's Space Fleet. Jake shook his head. "Far ahead of ours. Their weapons turned a whole planet into ash in minutes. Their ships are massive and heavily armored. We counted over 50 weapons per ship." The room fell silent. Earth's entire space fleet had only 30 ships. They were fast and modern, but tiny compared to what was coming. "So we surrender?" asked someone. "No," said General Brooks firmly. "We fight." "With what?" President Ross asked. "They'll destroy us in hours." Dr. Park stood up. He had been reading reports about the Vortak all morning. "Actually, I think we might have a chance. A small one, but a chance." Everyone looked at him. He activated a wall screen showing battle reports from conquered worlds. "Look at how every other species fought them," Dr. Park said. "They all used the same strategy. Big ships facing big ships. Direct confrontation. When they started losing, they surrendered." "That sounds smart," said Admiral Stone. "Why fight a war you can't win?" "Because we're not like other species," Dr. Park said. "Look at human history. We don't fight that way. Remember Vietnam? Afghanistan? World War II?" General Brooks nodded slowly. "Asymmetric warfare." "Exactly," Dr. Park said. "We don't fight fair. We use guerrilla tactics. We hit and run. We adapt. Most importantly, we never give up. Ever." Colonel Maria Santos, head of Special Forces, leaned forward. "What are you thinking?" "The Vortak expect us to line up our ships and fight like gentlemen," Dr. Park said. "They expect us to surrender when we start losing. They've never faced an enemy that gets more dangerous when cornered." President Ross looked skeptical. "You want us to bet the survival of humanity on guerrilla tactics against aliens with super technology?" "I want us to bet on being human," Dr. Park said. "We're persistence hunters. We evolved to chase prey until it drops from exhaustion. We're pack predators. We work together better than any other species on Earth. And we're mean when we're scared." Jake Morrison spoke up. "The aliens seemed arrogant. They were so sure they'd win, they didn't even bother to study us properly." "That's our advantage," Colonel Santos said. "They think they know what they're facing. Another weak species that will break under pressure." General Brooks started pacing. "What do we have that they don't expect?" "Unpredictability," Dr. Park said. "Every other species they conquered fought the same way. We won't." "What else?" Brooks asked. "Stubbornness," said Jake. "They threatened to destroy Earth. Other species might have been scared into surrender. Humans just got angry." Colonel Santos smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "We're also very good at killing things. We've been doing it for millions of years." Over the next weeks, Earth transformed. Every nation worked together like never before. Factories that made cars started making weapons. Scientists who studied medicine started studying alien biology. Children practiced hiding. Adults practiced fighting. Admiral Stone redesigned Earth's entire fleet strategy. Instead of big, slow battleships, they built small, fast attack ships. Ships that could hit hard and disappear before the enemy could respond. Colonel Santos trained Special Forces teams in boarding tactics. If they could get inside alien ships, human soldiers might have an advantage in close combat. Dr. Alan Gray, Earth's best weapons designer, studied the alien footage frame by frame. "Their armor is strong," he told the team. "But it's designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. I don't think they've ever faced kinetic weapons." "Kinetic?" asked General Brooks. "Bullets," Dr. Gray said simply. "Really big, really fast bullets." Meanwhile, Captain Tony Mitchell worked with resistance fighters from around the world. He trained teams to fight on Earth's surface if the aliens landed. They learned to use the terrain, to blend in with civilians, to turn every building into a fortress. "The key is to make them pay for everything," Mitchell told his teams. "Every street, every building, every inch of ground. Make them bleed for it." Lieutenant Sophie Barnes, one of Earth's best pilots, tested new fighter designs. These weren't like the fighters Earth had used before. They were built to exploit blind spots in large ships, to get close where big weapons couldn't target them. As the months passed, strange reports came from around the galaxy. Other species started sending messages to Earth. Species the Vortak had enslaved decades or centuries ago. The messages were all similar. "We heard about you. We heard you're going to fight them. We want to help." Some sent technical information about Vortak weapons and ships. Others shared maps of Vortak territory. A few even offered to rebel when the fighting started. "They're all waiting," Dr. Lisa Carter realized. "Waiting for someone to prove the Vortak can be beaten." "No pressure," muttered Jake Morrison. Chief Petty Officer Rick Davis perfected new types of explosives. Bombs that could be hidden anywhere. Mines that could damage ships the size of cities. Traps that would turn any Vortak landing into a nightmare. "The thing about predators," Davis told his demolition teams, "is they're not used to being hunted. They expect prey to run or hide. They don't expect prey to set traps." 3 weeks before the Vortak fleet was expected to arrive, Earth held its first planet-wide war game. Every nation, every military unit, every civilian defense group participated. The results surprised everyone. Earth's new strategy was chaotic, unpredictable, and absolutely ruthless. Ships attacked from unexpected angles. Ground forces appeared where they shouldn't be. The simulation computers kept crashing because they couldn't predict what humans would do next. "That's either brilliant or insane," said President Ross after reviewing the results. "With humans," said General Brooks, "there's often no difference." The day before the Vortak fleet arrived, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest battleship, the UES Defiance. Around him, 30 human ships prepared for battle. They were smaller than the enemy ships. They had fewer weapons. But they were crewed by humans who had spent months learning to think like predators. "Do you think we can win?" asked Commander Amy Walsh, who had volunteered to stay with the fleet instead of taking a safer ground assignment. Jake looked at Earth spinning slowly below them. 6 billion humans lived on that world. Most of them had never seen an alien. Most of them had never fought a war. But all of them were ready to fight for their home. "The Vortak think they're the ultimate predators," Jake said. "They've never been wrong before. But they've never hunted humans." Warning alarms began to sound across the fleet. Long-range sensors had detected massive energy signatures approaching the solar system. "Here they come," Amy whispered. Jake smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Good. We've been waiting for them." The Vortak were about to learn that there's a difference between being a predator and being human. And humans had been perfecting the art of war for their entire species' existence. The alpha predators were coming to hunt sheep. Instead, they were about to meet wolves. The Vortak fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system like a dark cloud. 200 massive ships moved toward Earth in perfect formation. Each ship was a mile long and covered in weapons. They moved slowly, confidently, like sharks swimming toward helpless fish. On the bridge of the lead Vortak ship, Supreme Commander Zalthar studied the human fleet. 30 small ships floated near Earth, waiting. They looked like toys compared to his massive warships. "Pitiful," Zalthar hissed to his officers. "Even smaller than we expected. This will be over quickly." His tactical officer, a young Vortak named Kelzer, looked at the sensor readings. "Commander, their ship positions seem random. No formation pattern. They're scattered everywhere." Zalthar laughed. "Mammals cannot think strategically. They panic and scatter when faced with superior force. This is typical behavior for weak species." But Kelzer frowned at his instruments. "Sir, some of their ships are hiding behind asteroids. Others are using their planet's moon as cover. This doesn't look like panic to me." "Cowardice," Zalthar said firmly. "They hide because they know they cannot face us in open battle. We will destroy them systematically, one by one." The Vortak fleet moved into their standard attack formation. It had worked perfectly for 3,000 years. The biggest ships would form a line and blast the enemy from long range. When the enemy broke and ran, smaller ships would chase them down. "Target the largest human ship," Zalthar ordered. "We will break their spirit with the first shot." But as the Vortak ships prepared to fire, the human fleet did something unexpected. Instead of forming a battle line or trying to run, the human ships scattered in all directions. Some dove toward Earth's atmosphere. Others raced toward the asteroid belt. A few disappeared behind the planet's moons. "Where are they going?" Kelzer asked, confused. "It doesn't matter," Zalthar said. "Fire at will. Destroy them wherever they hide." The Vortak opened fire with massive energy beams. But the human ships were no longer where the Vortak expected them to be. The beams missed, striking empty space or asteroid rocks. Suddenly, 3 human ships appeared from behind Earth's moon. They were moving incredibly fast, much faster than any ship the Vortak had ever seen. The ships raced straight at the Vortak fleet. "Suicide attack," Zalthar said dismissively. "How typical of mammals. Emotional and pointless." But the human ships didn't try to ram the Vortak vessels. Instead, they fired strange weapons. Not energy beams, but solid metal projectiles moving at incredible speed. The bullets punched through Vortak armor like it was paper. "Impossible!" Kelzer shouted. "Our armor should stop any kinetic weapon." "These projectiles are different," the science officer reported. "Depleted uranium cores, moving at 30% of light speed. Our armor was never designed for this type of attack." The first Vortak ship shuddered as human bullets tore through its hull. Explosions rippled along its sides. The great predator ship, which had destroyed countless worlds, was bleeding atmosphere and fire. "Return fire!" Zalthar screamed. But the human ships were already gone. They had fired their shots and disappeared back behind the moon before the Vortak could target them. From another direction, more human ships attacked. These came from the asteroid belt, using the space rocks as cover until the last second. They fired different weapons, missiles that seemed to think for themselves, dodging Vortak defensive fire and striking weak points in the alien ships. "How do they know our weak points?" Kelzer demanded. The answer came from their intelligence officer. "Commander, we're receiving signals from some of our enslaved species. They're broadcasting technical specifications about our ships. They're helping the humans." Zalthar felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. The Vortak had always been able to count on fear to keep their slaves in line. But now those slaves were rebelling, helping these strange mammals. "It doesn't matter," he growled. "We outnumber them 7-1. Mass assault. Destroy them all." But as the Vortak fleet charged forward, the human ships split up again. Some dove into Earth's atmosphere, where the big Vortak ships couldn't follow without burning up. Others raced toward Jupiter, using the giant planet's gravity to whip around and attack from unexpected angles. Captain Tony Mitchell commanded one of the human ships hiding in Earth's atmosphere. His ship, the UES Wolverine, waited in the clouds above New York City. "Sir," his gunner reported, "Vortak landing ships approaching. Looks like they're trying to invade the surface." "Perfect," Mitchell said. "Let them come down here where we can reach them." The Vortak landing ships were smaller than the main fleet, but still huge by human standards. They dropped through the atmosphere like falling meteors, their shields protecting them from the heat. As the first landing ship approached the ground, human fighters rose from hidden positions. Lieutenant Sophie Barnes led a squadron of tiny attack craft that had been invisible to Vortak sensors. "Remember," she told her pilots, "get in close. Their big guns can't track us if we're right next to their hull." The human fighters swarmed around the Vortak landing ship like angry bees. They fired at close range, targeting the ship's engines and weapon systems. The alien ship was too big and slow to swat the small human craft. On the ground, Chief Petty Officer Rick Davis watched the landing ship struggle with the fighter attack. "Now," he said into his radio. Hidden explosive charges detonated all around the landing zone. The Vortak ship, damaged by the fighters, crashed into a field of mines and booby traps. The explosion could be seen from orbit. "First blood to the humans," Davis said with satisfaction. In space, the main battle continued. But it wasn't going like any battle the Vortak had ever fought. The human ships refused to stay still and fight properly. They hit and ran. They attacked from behind. They used dirty tricks and unfair tactics. This is not how space battles work. Zalthar roared as another human attack damaged his ship's engines. "Where is their honor? Where is their formation discipline?" "Sir," Kelzer said quietly, "I don't think they care about honor." Another group of human ships appeared, this time from the direction of Mars. They had been hiding behind the red planet, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. Their target was the Vortak command ship, Zalthar's own vessel. Captain Jake Morrison led the attack personally. His ship, the UES Defiance, had been upgraded with the best weapons human engineers could build. As he closed in on the alien command ship, he opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Jake Morrison to all Vortak ships. You wanted to hunt humans. Congratulations. You found us." The human ships opened fire with everything they had. Not just bullets and missiles, but weapons the Vortak had never seen. Electromagnetic pulse bombs that shut down alien systems. Plasma cutters that sliced through armor. Gravity mines that crushed ships from the inside. Zalthar's command ship rocked under the assault. His bridge filled with smoke and sparks. Half his crew was dead or wounded. His mighty ship, pride of the Vortak fleet, was dying. "How?" he whispered. "How are mammals doing this to us?" The answer came from Jake Morrison's voice over the radio. "Because you made a mistake, alien. You thought we were prey. But humans aren't prey. We're predators. And we've been practicing for a very long time." Around the solar system, the battle raged for hours. But slowly, impossibly, the Vortak began to lose. Their ships were bigger and more powerful, but the humans fought like nothing they had ever encountered. Human ships attacked from every direction at once. They used the planets and moons as weapons, gravity-slinging rocks at alien vessels. They coordinated attacks with ground-based weapons, trapping Vortak ships in crossfires. Most terrifying of all, the humans seemed to learn from every exchange. Every time the Vortak tried a new tactic, the humans adapted to counter it within minutes. "They're not fighting like a military," Kelzer realized. "They're fighting like a pack of hunters." As Earth's sun set, the impossible had happened. The Vortak fleet was in full retreat. 20 of their ships were destroyed. 50 more were badly damaged. The rest fled toward the edge of the solar system. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Vortak had been defeated in battle. On the bridge of his crippled command ship, Supreme Commander Zalthar stared at the viewscreen in shock. Behind him, Earth glowed peacefully in the darkness. The human ships circled their planet like protective wolves around their den. "Send a message to the High Council," Zalthar said weakly. "Tell them we have encountered something new. Something dangerous." "What should we call them, sir?" Kelzer asked. Zalthar thought about the vicious, coordinated attacks. The refusal to surrender. The way the humans had turned every disadvantage into an advantage. "Call them what they are," he said. "The most dangerous predators in the galaxy." 3 months after the Battle of Earth, President Helen Ross stood before the largest gathering in human history. Every nation, every colony, every ship in space was connected to this broadcast. "My fellow humans," she began, 3 months ago, we were attacked by an enemy that called themselves the Alpha species. They came to enslave us. They came to destroy our world. They failed." Cheers erupted from billions of voices across the solar system. "But," the president continued, "they will be back. And when they return, they will bring their entire empire with them. We cannot wait for that day. We cannot let them choose when and where to fight. Today, we take the war to them." Admiral Chris Turner, newly appointed commander of humanity's offensive fleet, stood beside her. Behind him floated humanity's new war fleet. In 3 months, human shipyards had built over 300 vessels. They were sleek, fast, and designed for one purpose: hunting Vortak. "The Vortak have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, Admiral Turner announced. "Today, their reign ends." The plan was simple in concept, complex in execution. Humanity would not wait to be attacked again. They would strike first, hitting Vortak outposts and bases across the galaxy. But they would not fight like the Vortak expected. They would fight like humans. Captain Nina Wells, now head of human intelligence, had spent months interrogating captured Vortak technology and studying reports from freed slave species. She had mapped the entire Vortak empire, identifying key targets and weaknesses. "They have 400 conquered worlds," she reported to the War Council. "But only 12 major fleet bases. If we can destroy those bases, we cut off their ability to build new ships." "How do we reach targets that far away?" asked General Frank Parker, who now commanded all human ground forces. "We don't go around their territory," Admiral Turner said with a smile. "We go through it." The first human strike came without warning. The Vortak outpost at Kelrose Prime was a fortress world, defended by 50 warships and millions of ground troops. It had never been attacked in 800 years. The Vortak defenders barely had time to sound alarms before human ships appeared out of hyperspace. But these weren't the small, defensive vessels the Vortak remembered from Earth. These were hunter-killers, built for pure aggression. Captain Tony Mitchell, now commanding the UES Predator, led the assault. His ship dropped out of hyperspace inside the Vortak formation, where their big guns couldn't target him without hitting their own vessels. "Surprise," Mitchell said as his ship opened fire. The battle was over in 20 minutes. The Vortak had spent centuries perfecting defenses against traditional naval tactics. They had never imagined an enemy that would materialize in the middle of their formation and start shooting. But the real shock came when human ground forces landed. General Parker himself led the assault on the planet's surface. The Vortak defenders expected human soldiers to advance slowly, like every other species they had fought. Instead, human marines moved like lightning. They used jetpacks to leap over Vortak fortifications. They tunneled under defensive walls. They dropped from orbit in pods that landed in the middle of enemy positions. "They're everywhere!" a Vortak commander screamed into his radio. "How are they everywhere at once?" The answer was simple. Humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They knew every dirty trick, every sneaky tactic, every way to turn an enemy's strength into weakness. Within 6 hours, Kelros Prime had fallen. The Vortak defenders were dead, captured, or fled. More importantly, the planet's slave populations were free. The liberated slaves told stories that spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The humans had not come as new conquerors. They had come as liberators. They freed the slaves, gave them weapons, and invited them to join the fight against their former masters. "We don't want to rule you," General Parker told the former slaves. "We want to help you rule yourselves." News of Kelros Prime's fall reached the Vortak High Council on their homeworld of Vortak Prime. The Great Hall, where the Empire's leaders had met for millennia, fell silent as the reports were read. "Impossible," whispered High Counselor Draxus, the oldest and most feared Vortak alive. "One fortress world cannot fall in hours." But more reports followed. Human fleets were striking across Vortak space simultaneously. They hit 3 worlds at once, then 5, then 10. Each attack was perfectly coordinated but completely unpredictable. The humans didn't follow normal military logic. Sometimes they attacked heavily defended worlds. Sometimes they ignored strong targets and hit weak ones. Sometimes they would strike the same world twice in a row, just when the Vortak thought it was safe. "They're not thinking like warriors," complained war leader Zephys. "They have no pattern, no strategy we can predict." "That is their strategy," realized Intelligence Chief Nexar. "Chaos itself is their weapon." The Vortak tried to respond with their traditional tactics. They gathered large fleets and sent them to hunt the human raiders. But the humans refused to face them in open battle. They would attack supply convoys, destroy communication relays, and disappear before reinforcements arrived. Worse, everywhere the humans went, slave rebellions followed. Species that had been conquered centuries ago suddenly remembered how to fight. They sabotaged Vortak facilities, provided intelligence to human forces, and turned every Vortak world into a battlefield. The Zealothi, enslaved for 600 years, destroyed 3 major Vortak shipyards in coordinated strikes. The Kraveks, peaceful traders who had surrendered without a fight 3 centuries earlier, began building ships again, ships designed to hunt Vortak. "The mammals have turned our own slaves against us," Draxus observed. "How is this possible?" The answer came from a recording captured during the liberation of Telos Station. Captain Nina Wells was addressing a group of freed slaves, speaking in a universal translator that made her words understandable to all species. "The Vortak told you that you were weak," she said. "That you deserved to be slaves because you couldn't fight them. They were wrong. You weren't weak. You were just alone. But you're not alone anymore." The recording showed humans working side by side with dozens of different alien species. They were building weapons, sharing technology, planning attacks. But more than that, they were teaching the aliens something the Vortak had tried to destroy: hope. "Hope makes them dangerous," Nexar realized. "Without hope, slaves stay slaves. With hope, they become soldiers." 6 months after the war began, the Vortak Empire was collapsing. Half their worlds were in rebellion. Their fleets were scattered, chasing human raiders that struck like ghosts and vanished like smoke. Their economy was in ruins as supply lines were cut and industrial worlds were liberated. In desperation, the High Council made a decision that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. They would negotiate with the humans. The meeting took place on a neutral space station, built by the Altarian Republic, a species that had successfully resisted Vortak conquest 2,000 years earlier by hiding in distant star systems. President Ross arrived with a small diplomatic team. The Vortak sent their highest officials, including High Counselor Draxus himself. We offer terms, Draxus said without preamble. Withdraw your forces from our territory. In exchange, we will not attack your homeworld again. President Ross looked at the ancient alien with calm eyes. Those aren't terms. That's surrender. You misunderstand, Draxus hissed. We offer to let you live. Your species has shown surprising cunning, but you cannot defeat the entire Vortak Empire. We have thousands of worlds, billions of soldiers. Had, President Ross corrected. You had those things. Now you have rebellions, destroyed fleets, and growing fear among your people. She activated a holographic display showing the current state of Vortak space. Red zones marked human-controlled areas. Yellow zones showed active rebellions. Green zones indicated Vortak loyalists. There was very little green. Your empire is finished, Ross said simply. The only question is how many Vortak die before you accept that fact. Draxus stared at the display in shock. In 1 year, humans had accomplished what no enemy had managed in 3 millennia. They had broken the Vortak Empire. What do you want? He asked quietly. Complete surrender of all Vortak military forces. Freedom for all enslaved species.